Welcome to the Prophecy Club. Our topic today is Israel, Russia, and Civil War. Now, yesterday I showed you a picture of my dog, my Belgian Malinois. Misty Blue is her name. So I thought I would show you one of Leslie's two dogs. This is Lily, and she can sit on my lap as I'm talking here. And she's not feeling too good today, so she's getting set on my lap. And she's 5 years old. She's 5 pounds, but that's what Leslie wanted. And she's got another puppy, but she's in the other room. Perhaps I'll show you her another day. Anyway, let's get on. Okay, so Israel, Russia, and Civil War. So the way this works is I get up and I start praying. Lord, what do you want to say on the program today? Then I start going through my emails, which, by the way, thank you very much for sending. Many times you make the program. But I'm listening to my heart. What do you want to say? And sometimes the things he lays on my heart has absolutely nothing to do with any of the emails or any of the things going on in the news, because that's what I ultimately want to do, is hear what he wants to say. I think that's what you want, because he's the only one that knows the end from the beginning. He's the only one that really knows what we all need to be hearing. So this is what he laid on my heart today to talk about. And I don't even know if I can get through all of this. I've got so much stuff out there. Okay, first of all, let's talk about Israel and the Palestinian State. Yes, I know we've talked about this a lot, but I've got some new information. Scheme uncovered to announce Palestinian State right away. WorldNet Daily. A scheme has been uncovered that apparently would involve announcing, unilaterally, a Palestinian state right away, and it is drawing a chorus of objections. The Allgemeine, however you say that, website reportedly proposed the plan, described by the Washington Post, and calls for the withdrawal of many, if not all, settler communities on the West Bank, a Palestinian capital in the East Jerusalem. That's specifically what God said don't do. You split Jerusalem, you split Israel, I will split America. And that's exactly what all of the newspaper articles are saying that they're trying to do. So exactly the wrong thing is exactly what America's about to do. And God is going to split America if we split Israel. Anyway, let's go on. If not all settler communities on the West Bank, a Palestinian capital in East Jerusalem, the reconstruction of Gaza, and security and governance arrangements for a combined West Bank and Gaza. What? Yeah, okay, so that's not good. Stunningly, the action could involve early U.S. recognition of a Palestinian state, even as elements of political reform, security guarantees for both Israel and the Palestinians, normalization and reconstruction are being implemented. The discussion is stunning, in that only in October, terrorists from Hamas, which works out of the Palestinian-controlled Gaza, invaded Israel and butchered some 1,200 civilians. Now, I think it's interesting that so many places are calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Now, I'm not in charge of Israel, but if Netanyahu were to call and say, Stan, what's your opinion? I'd say, well, I think the first thing you need to do is, if you want to have peace, release all of the Israeli hostages, period. And no, we're not going to release any of your Palestinian hostages. This is our land. Get off our land. It was given to us in Genesis 12:3 and other scriptures. God gave us this land. It's our land. You're trespassing. We don't want you here. No, we're not going to give you any land. No, we're not going to give you any safety. Hit the road, Jack. And if you go to Ezekiel 38:8, it says that Israel will be dwelling safely, all of them, by Armageddon. Well, right now, that's a long way off. So that tells me that Israel does pull out the secret weapon, and they decimate all of their enemies round about them. That's the only way it would happen, for them to be dwelling safely, all of them. Go check it out, Ezekiel 38:8. It's there. Now, I think that there's a lot of pain coming between now and then. All right, let's go on to the next article. In Riyadh, Arab ministers agree to advance a joint plan for a post-war Gaza, say the diplomats. Top ministers from Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Jordan, Egypt, and the Palestinian Authority agreed at a meeting in Riyadh yesterday to move forward with plans to present a joint political vision for rehabilitating the Gaza Strip and establishing a Palestinian state after the Israel-Hamas war. Okay, so this is pretty much what all of them are saying. We got to give Israel or Palestinians a state. We got to split Israel. And God is saying, don't do it. Don't split my land. My land belongs to me, not Israel, not you, not the Palestinians, not any of the nations around there. Don't split my land. Yes, he gave it to Israel, but it's God's land. He put his name on it. Several drafts of the plan have already begun circulating between the countries, though it is unclear when it will be unveiled, and it's going to reiterate their call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Again, if I were Israel, I'd say, you want a ceasefire? Release the hostages, all of them. And they better be alive, and they better be unharmed. Release them. I'm not even talking to you until you release all, I said all, of the hostages. That's what I would say. But Israel's not strong enough to say that yet. Again, they do give the Palestinians a state. That's what the prophecy says. That's what Leslie was told back in 2002. They will give the Palestinians a state, but it'll be a temporary measure to allow them time to strengthen their military. So Israel can't say that yet. I understand that. But if God has his way, and if I really heard from God, we're going to go over and we're going to find oil in Israel. I'm going to do my best to give it to Israel in such a way to where it'll help them to build up their military. I'm totally 100% behind Israel. And build up their military, and if I have my way about it, Ezekiel 38, verse 8, will happen. By Armageddon, Israel will be dwelling safely. All of them. Okay, let's go on. Calls for, by the way, every time I say that, I got to tell you, we cannot guarantee we're ever going to get the money to drill for or hit oil in Israel. Okay, anyway, but I believe that'll happen. Calls for irreversible steps towards the recognition of the Palestinian state is happening during the talks. Another article, Hezbollah, blood for blood. This is war. Israel orders military to begin preparing citizenry for war with Hezbollah, as in an all-out war. They are instructing the population on emergency protective measures in case of a large assault against Israel's home front. The risk of escalation is now beyond very high. It appears a decision has been made to go to full war against Hezbollah. Now, in case you're not familiar, Hezbollah is north of Israel, as in, God, I drew a blank. What's it? No, well, I drew a blank on it. I've been doing that more lately, but I'm 70. My older brother that's 78 tells me it's about time. Some of the things you're supposed to have happen to you. Well, it's happening. Lebanon, there you go, okay. Many officials believe that the Battle of Hezbollah will make the Israeli army pay a great price. Okay, well, the Bible says that though the whole world comes down to attack Israel, they will not be victorious. As a matter of fact, that's what Armageddon is. The whole world does come down to attack Israel, and Jesus returns and destroys them all. Another scripture says that Israel will never be uprooted from the land ever, ever, ever again. It means Israel will never lose another military battle. So go for it, Israel. Let's go on. Last phrase. Egypt is preparing an area at the border of Gaza that can accommodate about 100,000 Palestinians if an Israeli offensive into Rafah prompts an exodus across the frontier, which is now exactly what is happening. Gantz. Either Israeli hostages are all released, or Israel will invade Rafah during Ramadan. Now, in case you're not familiar with Ramadan, that's the month where all of the Muslims go into this fast. And they don't fast all day long, but they eat in the evening, and they do that for 30 days. It's supposed to be like the holiest month of the year for the Muslims. Now, the point being is, if you don't want to be at war with Israel, you better release all the hostages, and you need to do it before Ramadan. And I looked up I don't think he has the date here. Gantz tells Hamas and Palestinians that if Israeli hostages are not all released, Israel will invade Rafah during Ramadan. It's like, I can't remember the exact date, but it's in a couple of weeks, okay? I'll say it that way. All right, now let's talk about the next topic, Civil War. Second American Revolution has begun, says Benjamin Fulford. God bless Texas. The official defiance by Texas Governor Greg Abbott of illegal orders coming from the fake U.S. President Joe Biden and the blackmail compromised Supreme Court marks the opening shots of the Second American Revolution. He says the move by Texas and 27 other states to send the National Guard to the Mexican border in defiance of the regime, I will say it that way, being a little kinder, by trying to stop the illegal flow of military-age males into the U.S. They're only fighting one arm of the octopus. They also need to understand the KM, that's the Khazarian Mafia, that's the evil people above president. Deep State is hoping to manipulate this event into starting a civil war in the U.S. to cancel elections and stay in power. Now, that last phrase there, we better read that again. So, they're trying to start a war, he says, to cancel the elections and stay in power. I don't know if that's true, but that certainly sounds like it could be an internal revolution. I believe that Satan and all of his leftists, mostly of which are Democrats, not all Democrats are bad. Most of them probably, but not all of them. A lot of them are just deceived. But anyway, they will stop at nothing to get their man, the Antichrist, on the throne. And that's going to be the golden throne of God. That's going to be the Ark of the Covenant, which is in Jerusalem, but it's not been revealed yet, but it will be. And when that happens, that is the middle of the tribulation. When you see the end of the Christ set on the Ark of the Covenant, that's the abomination of the desolation, and you can put an X on the calendar. Exactly 1,260 days later, Jesus will return for Armageddon, period. And that one, there is no scriptural question on. All right, let's go on to the next one. Okay, in 2010, Terry Bennett said, what the United States is going to be going through is civil conflict. We've had that, burning the buildings, okay? Remember all that COVID stuff, okay? Civil conflict, civil war, we believe for several different reasons, that's what just has started. Then finally, invasion, literally foreign troops on our land. He says, we'll go through a dramatic change in our government. There'll be a time of anarchy and chaos fulfilled. For a while, we'll have a fractional government. That's probably in the works right now, probably this year. For a while, we'll have fractional government, which probably is the internal revolution. Our government will come down to the state level because the military steps in and having to seize control of the federal government. You'd call it a coup. We call it an internal revolution. But in all honesty, it'll be to help our nation. Now, that's key because that tells me that the good guys kick the bad guys out. That's why the military steps in. Lawlessness, chaos was shown to be in civil unrest. When the checks come from our government, stop coming to the people, chaos will ensue. And he saw them holding up signs that said, we want our entitlements. That'll tie together with some other stuff if I can get to it. So much stuff to tell you. Then 13 years ago, Terry Bennett said he saw an angel walk into the room during a prayer meeting, and he raised up a flag. And he says, he raised up a star, and he said, this is the Lone Star. He saw a map of the United States, a black and white flag with 50 stars. The angel said the Lone Star state will be the first one to come off the flag, meaning the first state to secede from the Union. Is that coming? Count on it. We Texans are not exactly feeling like we need to be a part of the United States. And we've been talking about this for all my life, I remember. We are happy to secede. There's 49. He kept reducing the number of the states as they fell off the flag. Their current operation in Texas has a name, Operation Lone Star. And of course, we are the Lone Star state. And there's more than one person that says we're quite strong enough to exist without the United States. Let's go on. Now in 2020, Terry Bennett again. In the 156 mark on his talk, He says a wolf pack of 15 rogue states will leave, separate secession from the United States. God helped and enabled President Lincoln. He will help and enable President Trump. President Trump believes in Christ. Sometimes I think so. Sometimes I question that. But I can tell you one thing. I'll tell you the biggest disappointment I have in Trump, and this is only about one thing. Just about everything else he says and does I like. I think he is in the very best. I wanted to say this for a long time. I think he is in the very best position to be able to help America at least soften or delay our fall. I think that back in 2016 when he was running for presidency, he should have been saying, pray for me. He can say that. Pray for our nation. What's wrong with saying that? He could say, by the way, I'm encouraging everybody this Sunday to go to church. Little comments like that, he could make those comments. But he hasn't. He stayed away from, he'll say, God bless America, but so did George Bush. That's nothing. What God? If President Trump, or even Trump now, not president, in his rallies, he needs to say that America needs to turn back to Jesus. He needs to say, I'm asking everybody to go to church this Sunday. I'm asking people to get back in church. I'm asking them to clean up their lives. That could potentially soften and delay a lot. I wish it would stop it, but it probably won't. Okay, so let's go on. Now let's talk about Russia. This is scary. Russian State Duma Member says, you can't save America. There will be no election in 2024 because America will not exist. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hogwash, baloney, right? Right? Okay. You got to listen to what this guy says and who he is. Russian Vladimir Zhirinovsky, in his final speech to the Russian Duma, said, there won't be an election in America in 2024 because America won't exist. Now, again, you think, yeah, right. No, you got to listen to this guy. This was the same speech where he predicted to the day when Russia would enter Ukraine. Okay, to the day. He predicted when Russia would enter into Ukraine. And he was right. And there's more. This speech was given over 2 years ago, and no one thought anything of it. So roughly 2 years before Ukraine was invaded, he gave to the day when Russia was going to enter Ukraine. Now he says there won't be an election. Earlier in another article, we just saw that they're going to start a war so that there won't be an election. You catching this? I'm going to say it one more time. So the guy 2 years before was correct to the day, saying when Russia would invade Ukraine. He was correct to the day. Now he says there won't be an election in America in 2024. With his amazing declaration about Russia entering Ukraine, having been so accurate, his prediction about America is more than a bit disconcerting. Given what's now taken place on the Texas border, wherein Texas has had to seize a portion of the land back from the federal government to stem the flow of millions of illegal aliens, and wherein the Biden regime has given Texas an ultimatum to allow federal agents back in or face the consequences, which nothing has been done. Texas is doing what they want to do. It seems entirely possible the actual civil war may break out very soon over this. Now, let me say something else. A lot of people have missed. Okay, so the evil elite are always trying to change our wording. Like, for example, they say, well, he's going to destroy our democracy. Okay, it's not a democracy. To one nation, under God, indivisible, to which, under the republic has to say, republic for which it stands. We are a republic. We're not a democracy. A democracy is where the people vote for whatever they want. A democracy is not good. Instead, we are a republic. That's why we call ourselves Republicans. And I just vote straight Republican. If they're not a Republican ticket, they don't get my vote. Anyway, in this case, Now I forgot my point here. What was I saying? The first Civil War was not over freedom of the slaves. It was really over states' rights. Now, the southern states said we have the right to have slaves if we want to, and the northern states said, no, you don't have that right. So the real question was states' rights. Now, here's my point. The issue over our borders is another issue over states' rights. The states say, we don't want these people pouring in. Yes, we agree. The way the law is set up, you, the federal government, are supposed to be guarding them, but you're not doing your job. And so Governor Abbott in Texas has found a way to get around that. But again, it's still the same issue, states' rights. The first Civil War was states' rights. The second Civil War apparently is going to be over states' rights. So it's getting real bad. All right, let's go on. 1 million drones. NATO allies have been mass manufacturing drones for Ukraine and plan to ship 1 million drones in Ukraine to be used against Russia. Russia has made explicitly clear numerous times in the past they will be legitimate targets for the Russian army. In other words, Russia is drawing a line in the sand saying, NATO, America, the West, you step over that line, and we're going to bust you. And that's exactly what Russia is saying. And sad to say, NATO and America's not listening. Let me remind you this. I don't have to go through the whole thing. But essentially, this is back in March 25th of 22. The first three say there's going to be a dollar destruction. Then the dollar is going to fall to 50%. There's going to be entitlement checks, just like what Shane Warren told, exactly the same words even. Then, here it is. This is another big point we're making today. The next headline he saw was Israeli-Palestinian two-state solution reached. Now, let me jump in here. June the 14th of 2008, after I'd spoken in Amarillo that night, casting the vision for oil in Israel and also that the Russians would attack America, I prayed as I do before I go to bed every night, have a prayer closet, and I said, Lord, I hope you're pleased with what we're doing, because it's not going so good. We spent $3,500 per city in advertising, and not many people showing up, not many people getting saved. And that night he spoke to me. I heard the audible voice of God, and it said, Stan, I will give you the money to drill the well in Israel, unquote. Now, I answered back. I literally woke up and I answered back in an audible voice, and I said, the oil well in Israel? But there was no answer. And then later on that night, he began showing me Leslie holding up these newspaper headlines. Omer ushers in Palestinian State, catastrophe hits America. And it confirms what she's saying here. So this Israeli-Palestinian two-state solution reached, that's going to happen. He confirmed that to me. That's going to happen. And it appears, though I don't know for certain, he's not told me it's going to happen this year, but it appears it's going to happen this year. If it happens this year, it's going to happen on the counting of the Omer, we believe, and that's from April 25th to June 13th. So keep watching that. And I advise you to send this out to your friends, because if you can get it into their emails, even if they don't look at it, get it into their email. Then when these things start coming to pass, just like he told me, when those prophecies I gave your wife begin to come to pass, people from all directions will begin to turn and listen to your ministry. So here's the hint. If you want people listening to you about Bible prophecy, about the end times, here's your chance. Send this video out to them. You can do that. Click share, okay? Click that little arrow down there. Send it out to your whole email list. You may lose some friends temporarily, but if I'm right, before the end of the year, matter of fact, before June 13th, when they give the Palestinians a state, you're going to be email them back and say, hey, remember on such and such a date, I sent you that link. Did you look at it? No. Or yeah, I did. It was stupid stuff. Fine. You better go back and recheck it, because they just gave the Palestinians a state. Here's a copy of the newspaper headline that says Omar ushers in Palestinian State, just like I sent you in that email. You're kidding. No, you better check it out. Then all of a sudden, people that got mad at you, people don't believe you, won't listen to you, now all of a sudden you have an ear. Let's go on. So the next, of course, we see Palestinian State, we see major earthquake, and this is what Leslie was told too. Then here's our topic today, America in pieces. And Chris said he saw the $50 bill torn up in pieces, as in America, the 50 United States, become the 50 torn up or divided states. The headline was America in pieces, in other words, seceding. More states secede from the nation in rebellion to the federal government. That is probably coming this year, latter part of this year. That's a good guess. Don't know for sure. Then federal government, U.S. military takes charge as uncertainty looms over the federal government. Probably. Now remember, I don't know for sure, but August 3rd of 1984 was when Gabriel came to Dmitri that night and said the fall of America will start with an internal revolution. Does it make sense that exactly 40 years later, I mean, what happens if August 3rd of 2024, exactly 40 years later, that internal revolution starts? See, Dmitri was told the year, month, day, and hour he would be exiled to America. That means that God was specific in when he sent him here. That means that he was specific when he sent Gabriel to give him the warning. So exactly 40 years later would specifically be August 3rd, 2024. Now, am I saying that the internal revolution is going to start on that night? No, but I am sure watching. What I am trying to say to you is, guys, ladies, if you want your skeptical friends to ever start listening to you, boom. You're looking at it. Send this out to them. Send it to all your email lists. I mean, all they can do is get mad at you. Then you can email them back when this stuff starts coming to pass and say, you better take a second look here. And I'll encourage you to take a second look. Call 800-200-GOLD, EMPShield.com, promo code prophecy, and josephskitchen.com. Get yourself prepared. Let me talk about our three sponsors briefly. First, if you want to get gold or silver, we're going to send you to 800-200-GOLD or prophecyclubgold.com, prophecyclubgold.com. Second, if you want to get long-term emergency food, the only place I would send you to is josephskitchen.com. It is what I believe is God's long-term storage food. As you recall, Pharaoh and Joseph, what fed the world for 7 years was wheat. Most of your long-term storage places, $9,000 to $10,000 to feed one person for 1 year. Joseph's Kitchen can show you how to do it for about $1,000, one person, 1 year. And EMP Shield. If you want your car to start, if you want your computers to start after some kind of nuclear event, that's the device to get. And if you go to empshield.com and use the promo code PROPHECY, get your $50 discount and help your Prophecy Club.